welcome to the Captain's Log. I'm your host, Dan Javin. Today's stardate 6/9/2024. Today we're going to be covering Innovator Rom, first of his kind. Bold statement. We'll cover that in a second here. We're also going to talk a little bit about Galaxy strategy and take a look at the progress we've made on the Missing Pieces Galaxy event. Recording this the evening of Sunday, and so we have a little more than half a day left in this Galaxy event. So if you're seeing this before the event's over, you still have time to earn this gold card we're looking at right now, Innovator Rom. So the question is, I mean, we're going to be getting free copies, 4 out of 5 free copies of Innovator Rom just for playing this Galaxy event, and that's what I mean when I say first of his kind. So normally you look at the rewards for any event, doesn't matter whether it's Galaxy, Skirmish, or what have you, and you're going to see your normal couple of greens up in the very low threshold tier. Even just submitting 1 or 2 Galaxy supply missions are going to get you a whole bunch of this early stuff, really low value rewards. And then you hit upon, normally at the 6,500 victory point level, your first copy of an event purple. For the 7-8 years that this game has been running, we have always received purple drops in this solo threshold rewards slotting. And for the first time ever, here we go. Innovator Rom, first of your 4 stars that you can earn for free. And then the second, a little bit further down here, past the Boimler, who you should also certainly pick up for this mega. 40,000 VP earns you your second. 130,000 VP should be your target, no matter who you are, no matter what your level of play, if at all possible. So you can get your third copy and also pick up the community reward too. Even though we're deep in phase 2 right now, community rewards are still available. So if you even submit a single supply mission and you haven't even played the event yet at all, you're still going to get another free copy of Innovator Rom. So 4 out of 5. Honor sale coming up soon. Make sure that you save your honor so you can buy that citation, get your 5th copy if you're an early game player, even a mid game player. Let's jump over to the BigBookBot.app. We're going to take a look at some of the stats here for Innovator Rom. So this crew, wow, what a monster command score here. Very first thing you notice here, this says boosted. So whenever you load up the BigBook.app, it's going to assume that you're viewing this at the strongest possible version of the characters that you're looking at. So this is going to assume that you have it fully fused, fully equipped. We call that FFFE in shorthand. And it's going to assume also that you are an endgame player with maximum starbase boosts, maximum personal boost for your collection bonuses. So if you need to remove that and just see kind of what the entry-level version would be, this still is going to be a fully fused, fully equipped copy of Innovator Rom, but without any of the starbase if you play alone, without any of the collection boost if you're just starting out. Even at the bare minimum, if you just get your 5th star on Innovator Rom after the free ones that you've earned, you're still going to start out with a pretty hefty 1411 command. That's going to let you get through a great amount of the continuum missions that you need to solve missions for, certainly the Galaxy map. He's going to be your command character early on and really accessible, easy to use. Not to say that there aren't other characters that you're going to be able to earn 4 to 5 copies early on. Actually, this month is a great month. Not only do we have the Mega for Displaced Boimler, but there's also a Reneo Bergeron variant called Erzal, who is going to be available in your objective events. We'll talk about all those as the week goes on. But today the focus is on Innovator Rom, and the other reason why I like this card so much, we'll get it back to max out. These stats look pretty sweet here. We're showing a tier 3 here. That's a pretty strong statement also. We've had kind of a glut here, although there is some power creep to the game. We've had a glut of tier 4, tier 5 characters for the past couple of months. This is strong, and I think this character's strength and high tier is based solely on just the sheer amount of stats that we get here. He's debuting Voyage number 69, so we have a top 100 Voyager, we'll say. It's not every day we get a top 100 Voyager, and certainly even though it's a very boring skill set of Command Dip Psi, which we've much maligned in other media that you may have watched, this crew certainly brings the power here. And so if I were an endgame player, I don't think I'd be so excited for Innovator Rom if I were building him from scratch, maybe if I were being asked to dip into packs to buy him with hard cash. But man, 4 free copies, and the most important thing I can convey to you is just how close to receiving some collection ticks you'll be if you can finish off Innovator Rom. Let's look at these collections here. Healthy Discourse, Cultural Impact, Daystrom Award for Innovator, Rules of Acquisition for Ferengi. These are some hard collections. They require finishing quite a few golds, and so being able to get so close to finishing one of the golds to get a tick on that, you might be close to getting one of your thresholds on this, getting a skill boost permanently for your entire roster. Innovator Rom is going to be just the easiest avenue for a lot of players to get that extra collection tick. Animated, when we talk about collections, animated does not have a full skill boost associated with it. Only the very last threshold of the animated collection is going to give you that skill boost. So take this with a grain of salt, but certainly there's also some future potential here. Big Book is great about parsing this out here. Let's take a look here at our collections pull down. And we see there are actually 4 potential collections that could possibly hit in the future. Tilting Point Games has been giving us a new collection about monthly, and sometimes they are what they call vanity, where we don't have a lot of skill boosts involved. But sometimes, they're ones based on a pure original trait where we can see a full skill boost at every collection threshold. And so these 4 have been selected as ones that are of a medium size that we could possibly hit on in the near future. So the main thing is that he is not a human, he is not Starfleet, and he is not Federation. Collections, if they were to be released for those, would be so large that they would just probably not be feasible in the game. So great to see that a non-human Starfleet Federation character is going to be so close to completion right out of the gate here. A couple other notes here. So I mentioned briefly solving continuum missions. This particular character is good for this. He has a specialty equipment that can be constructed for his primary skill. So in order to boost his command to get the epic and elite level continuum missions done, you're going to need to spend a whole bunch of qubits and get some equipment built. And so how better to do it if you're building just these generic ones, like here's the generic command one that any gold crew can build and attach to itself. Here's the other one over here. These require 8 of the various qubits for command in order to be able to complete them. I think the Granaticus sector only takes 5 or 6, so it's a discount. It gives you more strength, 600 compared to 500. Better proficiencies, bring them into Gauntlet. Why not if you've got them equipped? It doesn't really cost you anything gameplay-wise for that. So some interesting points to this character for even mid-game rosters to really consider. Let's jump back over to the game for a moment. We're going to talk some strategy. So Galaxy missions are kind of a strange breed in that we are doing the same thing, but we're doing them in 2 separate phases. What are the differences between Phase 1 and Phase 2? Why even bother having this changeover? The numbers are actually, the math is a little bit different between the 2 of them. If we're going to jump over to the game here, I want to show you, let's take a look at the actual event here. So I played pretty hard in the very first phase. I'm up to 200,000 VP, so I did quite a bit of work here. But if I look at the actual event, my VP rewards in Phase 2 here, I've only done like 2 missions so far, and I'm only getting 300 VP per mission, whereas in Phase 1 I was getting over 1,000 VP per mission. So what's the deal? Why is everything reset? Does that mean that if I'm playing in both different phases, it's really a disadvantage to me? It is technically in terms of mini-maxing, but I think in the long run, for anybody submitting a significant number of missions, you'll find that it really doesn't matter that much. Let's show you the wiki pages. So we haven't covered the STT wiki yet. The good folks at sttwiki.org maintain a lot of informational pages, some of them established, like this Galaxy event page we're looking at right now. And some of them that are brand new for every single event, like the Missing Pieces event page for the event that we're currently running. On the Galaxy event page, we're going to scroll past all these different example events here and take a look at event scoring. And it has a breakdown here of how much you earn for event completion in Phase 1. And look at this here. Phase 1, for your very first mission you completed, only 10 VP. And then the next few, only 35. And then eventually you get into some of the higher numbers, including your maximum of 1025. This is for everything over 18. That's your maximum per supply mission that you submit. For super rare turn-ins, this is, again, Phase 1 here. Just turning in a single one to hit that super rare turn-in, you're only going to get 125, but over the course of doing more than 28 turn-ins, you're going to get a maximum of 4850 VP for your turning in 15 at a time. You have to earn up to that. Comparing that to Phase 2, we see that the missions completed, notice how much smaller this is. We start instantly at 125 VP. So it seems like Phase 2 is a little more advantageous, doesn't it? That we're going to be starting higher, and with only 10 missions needed to get to 1025, we're going to be getting to the maximum sooner. Again, for super rare turn, and also look, we start for 3 turn-ins at a time, getting far more VP than the 125 we were promised in Phase 1, but still the same maximum here of 4850 for 15. So breaking down the math here, and I've kind of crunched the numbers for you. I'm going to make it easy for you. So the actual difference here between Phase 1 and Phase 2. In Phase 1, it's going to take you 17 supply missions to reach your maximum VP. of 1025 per mission. Phase 2, it only takes you 9 missions. There is a difference here. The difference in, we'll call it wasted VP, is 2,115 VP, victory points. That's out the window if you only play in Phase 1. And you do not play in Phase 2, and you rely on that. Maybe your schedule necessitates that you're going to be playing only in Phase 1. That's the deficit that you can expect to do. However, we looked at the threshold totals. Even if you're playing just for the 130,000 or the 350,000 thresholds to get either every single solo individual reward that you're promised, or just to get all your Innovator ROMs, it's a drop in the bucket. We're talking about like 1 or 2% of your total VP earnings that might be wasted just playing in one phase or the other. So it's virtually nil, and especially if you're making a push for top 1500 or top 750 to get extra copies of the event rare, you're not even gonna notice the difference at all. We'll talk again also about the super rare turning, because the common wisdom is to save your super rares for turn at the end of Phase 2. And again, the only difference we have is that in Phase 1, you're going to need to turn in 181 items to reach that maximum. In Phase 2, it's only 174 items, so virtually no difference to reach the maximums there. It only went up being about 1,300 VP. So again, just like a single mission's worth of VP, depending on when you turn in. So I think that we'll call it again the common wisdom. We see it recited in Discord and Reddit posts to save your turn-ins for the end of Phase 2. This really only applies to people looking to do a push to reach a certain threshold of rewards. I just, holding your cards until the last minute before you make your big play does have some value. You're limiting the options of anybody that's looking to one-up you at the last minute by not showing your entirety of your VP until the very last minute. But again, if you're not vying for the top spots, if you're nowhere near 750 or 1500, or even the very top positions in the top 100, there's just really no need. Just turn in your super rares. As a matter of fact, as you're playing the game, turn in your super rares as you are able to. If your only concern is hitting those prize thresholds, getting your Innovator ROM, getting your premium pack at 350,000 VP, just turn in your super rares as you go along. That way you don't overspend. You're not going to be putting out way more VP than you intend to. This is especially important for early and mid-game players because it's expensive. Galaxy is an expensive event. Every single build costs you credits, so that takes away the amount that you can retrieve later on, or that many fewer crew that you can fully equip and freeze. But also the actual cost in missions and farming up the components. If you haven't become a pre-farmer, if you're not using the skirmish events and the critical chronoton events, thanks Janus, if you're not using those events to pre-farm all the components you need for Galaxy, and that'll be for a later talk. But if you're just spending crons out of pocket, you're going to wind up spending per mission about 55 crons. It adds up real fast. If you're going for maximum thresholds, you're going to need to run anywhere between 180 and 200 Galaxy missions. There's a lot of tapping, also a lot of crons. If you're paying out of pocket full price, that could cost you as many as 10,000 crons. It's like an entire critical chronotons retrieval event's worth just to get your maximum thresholds. It's really expensive, and so it's important to know that you can drop down. You don't have to always get the maximum thresholds. In this event, it's perfectly reasonable to just do 130,000. Just get your copy of ROM, your last copy of ROM. It only takes about 70 Galaxy missions. Costs you less than 4,000 chronotons if you're paying out of pocket, and then you're done. And don't worry about competing. If you miss Warship Tours, she'll be around. As I said in the previous video, she's in PAX. She'll be in the portal eventually. Important crew, but don't break your neck over it. Don't break the bank. And if you haven't pre-farmed, it may not be the right time for you. So Galaxy, just to debunk and demystify a lot of the literature you may have read about it, play at your own pace. That's the beauty of the Galaxy event, is you can do it any time. There's no rush. It's not like shuttles where you have to be, you have your phone on and you have to be re-upping your shuttles every hour and a half or every 3 hours on a certain schedule. Galaxy, you put on Star Trek Discovery Season 5 like I'm doing right now. Watch it, enjoy it, click some buttons, just enjoy the time. This is where the game can be at its most fun for a mobile game, is when you get to play it at your own pace. Thanks for joining me today for the Captain's Log. Next time we'll talk about Displaced Boimler. We're going to have another show soon for you. Until then, live long and prosper. Live long and prosper.